Ian, I've got you first on my list. That means I'm coming to you first. Who's your curveball conversation starter?
I'm going to caveat this for saying I would keep him, but I just think he's one of those players because of the changing system that a few questions are going to be asked about. It's Harvey Elliott. I love Harvey Elliott. Everyone knows I'm a fanboy of him, but with the amount of midfielders that are coming in, I don't think he's ever really impressed out on that right wing. I don't, as a backup to Salah when he comes in, he's not really got the pace to do what Salah does. Mm-hmm. So if we do bring in these midfielders now, he hardly kicked the ball in anger the last 10, 15 games of the season. What's that going to look like for him next season? Would a loan benefit him next season?
Okay. So Harvey Elliott is currently 20 years old. My God, he's so young. Played 46 times for Liverpool last season, scored 5 goals and provided 2 assists. Now, I haven't got the stats on that necessarily in front of me, but a lot of those appearances were in the first half of the season, where we all know, we've all said it a million times on different shows, he was the last player to feature in every game for Liverpool for a prolonged period of time, never got out the side, played in every single game. But like you say, and towards the end of the season, got taken out of the limelight a little bit, didn't see as much of him.
And it sort of happened the season before as well. I remember he played an awful lot of games the first half of the season.
Didn't he break his ankle or something?
It was Leeds and then Klopp.
Was that, I thought that was the season before. Was that last season?
I think that's right, yeah.
Do you
think that's Klopp? Because he's done it with players in the past, not just Harvey Elliott, by the way. He's done it with youngsters a lot. Do you think that's him taking him out the 5 and 9 a little bit and saying, giving him a taste, watching him flourish, and then going, right, I'm going to drag you back? And he might have done it with Pacetic as well, had he not got injured before he had the chance, because he does that a lot.
Well, he seems to do a lot more with Harvey Elliott, though. I don't know whether it could be a stamina thing with Harvey. Maybe Harvey Elliott got so far in the season, and then he just, don't want to say fall down, but he just loses a little bit of that oomph towards the end of the season. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
What might be interesting to see if he was to go out and play a full season right the way through and see how he gets on. I'm just concerned, because like I said, I'm a big fan of Harvey Elliott, and I'm concerned the players that come in might stunt his progress a little bit.
No, I get it, and I definitely think there's a conversation around it. That's why we're sat here. Because like you say, at the minute, we've just signed with Alexis McAllister. I think we all expect him to slot into the left-sided 8 role, which is probably going to see Curtis Jones fall 1 down the pecking order. I think we're all okay with that. As impressive as Curtis Jones was, I think anyone wants to sort of hang the hat and say, right, go on, Curtis, this is yours for the season now. There's a good chance we do that on the right-sided 8 role, which of course has been Harvey Elliott's Chloe. So, do you think there's a genuine conversation around loaning Harvey Elliott out, or are you happy just to see him go and go and go?
It's a hard one. It depends how much experience he thinks he needs right now and Jurgen Klopp thinks he needs. We've also got to look at, we mentioned Stefan Bajcetic there. Stefan Bajcetic he's a young lad. We demanded too much of him and he got a stress injury. Maybe we've learned from that in terms of you can't learn from it before the injury happens, but we had the licence when players came back to take Harvey Elliott out, so we didn't demand too much of him. You couldn't do that with Stefan Bajcetic because everyone in the midfield was absolutely abysmal, including Fabinho, who was possibly the worst. And this young lad had slotted in and was bossing it. And I don't think we had as much of a choice. When people got back in positions, you could rotate Harvey Elliott, and it's the captain he's going up against, and the captain wouldn't have been too happy to see him constantly beat him in that area. My problem with Harvey Elliott is I don't know where he fits. He defo cannot play right wing for me. And the 8 role, I don't mind him in, I like him in, but I don't know whether he can do it consistently enough. And if he is just a really good squad player, then perfectly fine. Because against Southampton, when he came onto that pitch, his link-up play with Salah, he was brilliant. He was the best lad on the pitch as soon as he came on. Jota obviously gets a couple of goals. Gakpo at the back stick that game. But Harvey Elliott really stood out for me because I hadn't seen him in a while. And all of a sudden he came in and he was pulling strings. He was the one who was really unlocking teams. He wasn't scared to have a go. So yeah, it's hard because I don't know how many games he's going to get. I'd keep him because I still think he will get games. I think he'll get enough games with the Europa League, with the early stages of League Cup and FA Cup, and the fact that Jordan Henderson should now be doing the James Milner role. But once again, it all depends on who Liverpool sign. But yeah, it's weird because I think he could do the 8. not to the greatest ability because he's more attacking and he can switch off defensively, but you can see how much he wants it. And if he wants it and he's got the desire and the work ethic, then we can try and teach him it. He's still young enough, but I don't think he can do it consistently enough.
No, what you've just said there, though, in terms of his work ethic and his desire, that's half the battle, essentially, in this Liverpool side, isn't it? And as you say, if he's got the willingness to want to learn and to want to improve, boss. I think Jurgen Klopp absolutely adores him. I'm a huge Harvey Elliott fan as well, I really am. And I think the point on the role he plays, for me, I agree, can't play right wing. He just hasn't got the pace. So much of Salah's brilliance is dependent on how quick he is. Like, he's also an amazing footballer with the ball at his feet, but he gets a lot of his chances and a lot of his goals via being absolutely rapid. Harvey Elliott just isn't that. He just isn't. But I think the 8 now, the right side of the 8 now it is looking like it's going to be so much of a 10/8 as opposed to an 8/6. I actually think Harvey Elliott can do that role. And what you say, Chloe, in terms of when he came on late in the game with Southampton, I think if we see more of that from Harvey Elliott in terms of cameos at the end of matches when games get a little bit stretched, I think he'll actually flourish even more because there'll be more space for him to do stuff and there'll be more space for him to see a pass and be creative. I actually think that'll suit him. So for me, it'll be keep. And I think Ashley Frith makes a really good point. Scott T also says keep and mentions his youth and the fact that you're going to have Europa League and all that sort of stuff. But Ashley says keep, and in January we can reassess it. So say you keep him around and he's only played a handful of games come January, then you can say you need to go and play football somewhere and give him 6 months, maybe at a different Premier League club. I think that's actually a really good solution. So I am happy with that. Chloe, Darwin Nunez.
Yeah, it's an absolute mad one, isn't it? Because it doesn't help when Erling Haaland goes to Manchester City at the same time for a lower fee to the public media. God knows how much he's actually on at Manchester City. It makes defo isn't as little as what they say it is. But yeah, Darwin Nunez has got a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but people are just a little bit confused with him. They don't. When we first signed him, we thought he was going to be our out-and-out striker. We've now got Cody Gakpo. He is not replacing Cody Gakpo in any time soon. He's just not. Cody Gakpo is my first name on that team sheet now. He just is nowadays. He's an integral part to our side. We then decided to shuffle him out to the left wing, and at first we were like, oh my God, yeah, really good. And then he's really fell off a cliff on that left wing. I remember he came on against, I want to say it was City, in the 1-0 win when Salah gets the goal, and we brought him on with like 15 to go and he absolutely ran them ragged, and you were like, that is what we need him to do, let's put him on the left wing. And now I don't think we know what to do with Darwin Nunez. I don't think anyone knows where he fits the system, what his best position is. And he's down the pecking order at striker for me, and he's down the pecking order at left wing for me. I'm not saying get rid of him, absolutely not. I just think it's a conversation to be had for 12 months' time, because I don't know what we're going to see from him this season. He's had a lot of barriers. He doesn't speak English. He's came to a brand new club, a club that have been completely and utterly shite this season, and have had to change systems about 4 times. The best players haven't always been available. He's had no midfield to feed him, so I totally get it. But I can feel the frustration of the fans. Inside the ground, we constantly support him, but you can see how nervous he is from players turning around and saying he's the most nervous footballer I've ever seen. It doesn't bode well for me when I hear that. And I don't know how you calm him down. That is the thing, because he started off the season so good. So you'd think now he'd have relaxed, but he hasn't. And I just don't know what we do with him is the problem. 100% give him the next season. Look, he might do what he did at Benfica, where the first season he wasn't great, the second season he got about 40 goals. 100% he might do that. But in 12 months' time, say he's still at the point he is now, and you spend 60, potentially 80 million quid on him, what do you do then? Like I've mentioned, we can't just bring baggage around for the sake of, oh, we'll just give him another seat. Oh, because by the time you've lost money on him, he's run out of contract, he might have not reached the heights, nobody wants him. And I just think we don't need to be like that. I don't think it's a major problem right now. I just think it might be a conversation with how much people are really concerned about him.
No, I think that's absolutely spot on, to be honest with you, Chloe. He remains an enigma, and like you say, where he fits in, I do think that at the start of the season we were looking to go away from the Bobby Firmino false 9 type role, and that's where Darwin Nunez was brought in to do. He ends up the season with 15 goals and 4 assists, but halfway through the season we clearly went, we need to go back to the Bobby Firmino false nine role because we signed Cody Gakpo. Bobby Firmino himself was doing it brilliantly as ever, actually chipping in with goals more than he used to as well. And as you say, we get Gakpo, and for the rest of the season, really, let's all pin our hopes on Cody Gakpo because he was superb. Yeah. He actually ends up playing 15 games from left wing, 27 as a centre forward. So it does kind of underline your point, as we weren't quite sure what to do with him. For a minute, it looked to me as if, similar to what I said about Harvey Elliott before, actually, in terms of bring him on late into games when it's more stretch and just watch him stretch defences.
But do you spend 80 million on a player to do that? That is my problem.
No.
If you would have spent 40 million, sure, but you broke a record to go and get him. He was more than Virgil van Dijk in add-ons. Them add-ons might have been win the league, and we're absolutely nowhere near. So thank God for Liverpool saving us about 20 mil there. But the other problem I have, he's been injured quite a lot this season. Where's that came from? Remember pre-season when he had blisters and couldn't play footy? He then obviously did a shoulder against Newcastle. He had a ankle problem or something against Real Madrid. He was out the last couple of games of the season. There was times where he couldn't start because he had niggles here and there.
Bit of toe last game of the season, wasn't it?
And shoulders.
He played through that a couple of times, didn't he, as well?
There's loads of, once again, he excites me. He's a load of chaos.
Yeah.
And look, 15 goals, 4 assists is actually really, really good for him, and all the obstacles he's had to overcome here. I am just concerned that he doesn't get as many games next season if Liverpool are at the peak of their powers. And then you have to look at it and you have to think 60 to 80 mil on a player who's literally just coming off the bench for us. Yeah. Do FSG have the money to keep him there and have spent that much on him?
Oh, don't mention that. Don't mention three words.
You know them. We're all sat here, you know what they do.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one, though, because as you say, Cody Gakpo has absolutely usurped him in the pecking order as the 9. Diogo Jota, you could argue, could play ahead of him in the 9 as well. Diogo Jota on the left is probably ahead of him. Luis Diaz on the left is definitely ahead of him. So it's a fascinating one. Ian, I'll just get your take on it, but I'll also go to the Discord as well. LFC Mav says Nunez are going to give us the same second season as Suarez did. I hope you're right. He has a feeling it will be controlled chaos and we need to calm him down. Scott T also says keep him and uses that word control too. Control his strengths and he'll be a superpower. Yeah, I hope so. It's funny actually because Darwin Nunez himself mentioned, I think he mentioned Suarez's second season and he certainly mentioned his own Benfica struggle. Benfica, brilliant in terms of how that went. Ian, I'll get your thoughts on it, mate, before we move on.
I just think we're heavy over on the left-hand side, and I think that might come into play. I think, I've said before when we were upstairs, I think an attacker might leave, because I think we might try and balance things out a bit. I think we might try and get someone going from the left and bring someone who can play on the right, because as it stands, we've only really got Salah that can play over on the right, because Harvey Elliott can't do it. Ben Doak isn't ready yet. He's not ready to come in. If Salah was to get an injury and he was out for 10, 15 games, couldn't bring Ben Doak in.
Too young.
So what do we do? Do we put Diogo Jota over there, who when he plays on the right doesn't look anywhere near as good as what he does over on the left? So I think we look a little bit unbalanced. I think if Liverpool was to get anywhere near what they paid for them, so someone was to offer us a big fee for Nunez in the month, I think in the summer, I think Liverpool might consider it just to get somebody over on the right. But I love Darwin Nunez. I think I've sang his praises all season. It's just, I think Liverpool might try and balance things out attacking-wise, positioning-wise, because I do think we are light on the right-hand side.
Okay, interesting.
By the way, I would keep him. This is a convo for 12 months down the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
It might not be a convo by then because he might have had a Suarez second season.
But if we're sat in the same position,
and I don't know how you control nervousness. That's my problem. Like, we all sit...
Get Thiago to speak to him before he comes on.
Yeah, maybe do that. That's my problem with him. Like, by now, 15 goals in the Liverpool shirt should have calmed you down. A full season here. Yeah. The crowd continually singing your name, even when you've done shite and only got a throw-in out of us. Like, that should calm you down. And the support clearly from the players, from
He's
Klopp,
very popular, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just, right now, I don't know how you control that. It has to be on him.
Yeah, he's a million miles an hour.
It has to be on him, and I don't know how he does it.
It's a fascinating one, actually, because just to finish on Nunez, he's had a really interesting season, because you're right, whenever we sign a new striker or a new attacker, as it is now, I'm always desperate for them to get the first goal, because for me, having watched Liverpool obviously for years and years and years, because like once you got your first, I remember Peter Crouch took him forever to get his first goal, didn't it? As a one example. And just think, get that one and you're away then, because you're right, it should calm me down as a striker. You could think, right, I'm off and running now. And Darwin Nunez obviously scores in the Community Shield. So you think, boss.
Scores against Fulham as well with a brilliant
exactly.
goal.
So you think, off we go, no problems, no teething issues, on we go, sound, hits the ground running. And I always wonder, and I've said it a few times this season, or the season just gone, I always wonder whether that sending off against Crystal Palace set him back again.
Yeah.
Because you're right, he gets off and running in terms of goal scoring, then he headbutts someone and gets sent off. And I wonder whether that knocked him back a few. And after that, he chips in with goals, but it never feels like he gets settled ever again. So I just wonder whether that played a part. And hopefully, another pre-season under his belt, hopefully some more English under his belt. Hopefully we can see the best of him in a more settled and better side, because we need to remember that with Nunez. We weren't great where we were.
Well, let's be honest, the only person who could really say they played real well last season was Alisson. If you look at it, I don't think anybody else would have been happy with their season.
Salah will have a conversation.
Salah and maybe Trent for the last 10, 15 games of the season, but everybody else was way below par, I thought, last season.
I agree.
Yeah, he's not the main problem here. It's just it's something that you do have to keep your eye
100%.
on, because it isn't 30 million that you've spent on this lad. And I'm so sorry to bring it up, but in a club in which we do not spend ridiculous amounts of money on players, and we can't afford to get transfers wrong, if we do get one wrong, it's a massive hit to us. And look, I love him. I think he'll come good. I've said this, but there is a part of me that does worry about it, technically, just because of him being so nervous. He's always second guessing himself. He's been through it on goals sometimes, and he's just squandered opportunities because he doesn't know whether to shoot or not. And by the time he's taken the extra step, it's hit him on his other leg and it's gone somewhere or something like that. Saying that, you know, he's won penalties for us. He's stepped up in big moments. He's scored some beautiful goals. Real Madrid, another one with a back heel. And I think it is a conversation for 12 months down the line, not now.
One of the goals he scored, only one of them was more than one touch. He's like a very
instinctive.
Is that
the way we play? That's the thing. At the start, when we brought him in, it hurt us because we pushed Salah all the way out to the line, to the wing, and everyone was like, no. The reason Salah's been so good and gets so many goals is because he comes in central, he cuts inside always, he uses his left foot. Tell him to go down the byline isn't going to help us, but that was what we were trying to tactically do to adapt to Darwin Nunez being an out-and-out striker. I'm not sure Darwin Nunez can do the number 9 Bobby Firmino role that Gakpo can now do. So it's a case of whenever we play him, we're going to have to potentially change system.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, like I say, I think it's one under review for now. We'll all sit back down in 12 months' time. I'll get the memo about what top to wear, and we'll
that's what you need to get onto
again.